hell, and we're going to protect Canada. He's underestimating the Canadian people, the resilience of the Canadian people, and the strength of the Canadian people.
Fighting mad and fighting back. The Premier takes aim at Donald Trump.
Tonight, bracing for the impact of sweeping tariffs set to hit Canada at midnight. Good evening. Donald Trump says there's no room left to make a deal.
Today, confirming his punishing tariffs will go ahead.
Tomorrow, tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States.
Speaking from the White House, Trump says the across-the-board duties will also include 10% energy taxes, all set to kick in at 12:01 a.m. Ontario Premier Doug Ford says he's ready to take on the tariffs. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has more on Ford's first public comments since his election night victory. Siobhan.
Well, today we saw a tough-talking Doug Ford at home and on U.S. TV, where he said that these tariffs would cause markets to go downhill faster than the American bobsled team. Today, we also heard from the Premier a more detailed approach to retaliation. On the eve of U.S. tariffs hitting Ontario, the newly re-elected Premier has a warning for Donald Trump.
I'm a different type of cat. I'll fight tooth and nail. I'm not going to roll over and get annihilated. I'll fight right to the death. Not that there's going to be any deaths.
Speaking at a mining conference, Doug Ford repeating a determination to retaliate.
Including cut off their energy, with a smile on my face.
Tariffs would mean the end of American-made booze at the LCBO. It would come off the shelves at the liquor retailer.
We purchase over $1 billion of alcohol, 3,600 products, 35 states. It's going to hit them.
Bidding on work in Ontario would be closed to American firms. A contract with Trump's right-hand man Elon Musk's company Starlink to provide high-speed internet to Northern Ontario canceled.
Not that $100 million makes a difference for them, but it's principle.
Ford's encouraging retailers to mark made-in-Canada products clearly to make life easier for shoppers, and demanding Ottawa get on board with expediting mining projects.
We need to move. This is survival mode.
Fresh off his campaign win, Ford insists his early election gamble paid off, even though Progressive Conservatives finished with fewer seats than last time. He points to another bump in people casting ballots for his party.
239,000 more votes. We have a stronger mandate than we've ever had before.
In the effort to open dialogue with the opposition on fighting tariffs, Ford says he's reached out to NDP leader Marit Stiles. He plans to talk to Green leader Mike Schreiner.
I haven't heard anything from Bonnie Crombie. She wasn't too kind on election night.
A sign the bitterness of the campaign hasn't subsided just yet. Today, the Premier didn't say how quickly he might call MPPs back to Queen's Park to tackle the tariff threat, but election rules say that it can't happen earlier than March 17th. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Unless there's an 11th hour deal, we will be hit with those U.S. tariffs in just a few hours. But Canadian officials insist they're ready. CTV's Judy Trin has the story.
Before he was president, Donald Trump was a reality TV star who understood the power of a cliffhanger. He gave Canada a 30-day pause in early February. Since then, Canadian officials and businesses have been parsing his every word to see if tariffs could be avoided. Now we know, despite what Canada has done to stop the illegal flow of fentanyl to the U.S., Donald Trump says, point blank, it's not enough.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect tomorrow?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs.
Canadian officials are frustrated. Last week, the public safety minister said there was irrefutable evidence that Canada was reducing the amount of fentanyl crossing the border. The amount of fentanyl seized in the U.S. at its northern border was equal to 19.5 kilograms. That's 0.2% of the amount of fentanyl that's smuggled into America. And of that amount, in the last month, U.S. data shows the seizures have gone down 90%. The federal government has also put in place a $1.3 billion border security plan. That includes Black Hawk helicopters, drones, and sniffer dogs. We've appointed a fentanyl czar and named 7 drug cartels as terrorist organizations. Despite the frustration, Foreign Minister Melanie Joly says Canada is ready to respond.
We know that we've answered questions that the Trump administration had regarding our efforts. And so in that sense, based on that, we're having constructive conversations, but I've said it to you many, many times, there's a level of unpredictability and chaos that comes out of the Oval Office, and we will be dealing with it. If Trump is imposing tariffs, we're ready. We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we're ready with the first tranche of tariffs, which is $30 billion, which is already known.
We don't know exactly what percentage of tariffs will be imposed on Tuesday. It could be 25% or 10% to mirror what was imposed on China. But in an executive order, the White House said that even relatively cheap products, so-called de minimis shipments to the U.S. valued at $800 or less, will also be subjected to tariffs. The announcement will go Tuesday, March 4th, the same day that Donald Trump makes a speech about the State of the Union. Judy Trin, CTV News, Washington.
The city of Brampton's announced it's implementing a new Canada First procurement policy.
We really need to show to the U.S. there is consequences and that it is to their benefit as well. The numbers speak for themselves. The free trade agreement has been enormously successful in both the U.S. and Canada.
Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown says the municipality will adopt a procurement policy which excludes U.S. companies. In response to a question about whether the policy might increase costs for people living in Brampton, Brown stated he hopes the measure will be temporary.
We turn to the excitement building for the FIFA World Cup. Some of the games set to play out in Toronto next year.
Today, we got a preview of renovations to BMO Field ahead of the big event. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live with the details. Raheem.
Nathan and Michelle, anyone who's lucky enough to get a ticket to a World Cup game here in Toronto is certainly going to benefit from an elevated fan experience because of all the renovations that have been undertaken. At the same time, this hosting the tournament comes with a hefty price tag, and today we learned that city officials are actually having conversations with their vendors to ensure that they're able to stay on budget with the threat of looming tariffs.
The renovations at BMO Field are well underway, with just over a year until the sporting world descends upon Toronto for the FIFA World Cup.
Today's announcement is an important step in our journey and ensures the stadium will not only be ready for 2026, but will serve our city for years to come.
Here's a pretty good sort of field level view.
This is the first look at how the stadium will be transformed in less than 500 days. Along with improved Wi-Fi, 4 new permanent video boards are being installed, and artificial intelligence will be used at concession stands for faster checkout. The biggest transformation, though, comes in the form of 17,000 temporary seats, which will be installed by next March. The upgrades are backed in part by a $23 million investment from Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. But they won't all serve the public long after the tournament.
For the balance of the summer months, Toronto FC and Argos games will be played at that expanded stadium, but the temporary seating needs to be dismantled in time to allow the normal activities of exhibition place to take place.
The latest price tag pegs Toronto's hosting duties at $380 million. The city says it's committed to sticking to that cost and will adapt if U.S. tariffs on Canada move forward.
We do have some contingency built into the budget, which we, if we have to, we'll tap into to make things happen and work. But obviously, we want to look at areas for cost containment, potentially in other areas of the budget.
A big selling point to play host has been legacy projects meant to benefit the city after the World Cup. Already, improvements to Centennial Park have been cut in half. But Mayor Olivia Chow promises there's more to come.
It's in the final stage of being put together, and it's exciting. It means a whole lot to a lot of young people, especially those that are playing soccer right now.
Toronto will host 6 FIFA World Cup matches, kicking off June 12th with the first ever men's match on Canadian soil.
Now, all of the renovations are expected to be complete by March 2026. And after the World Cup, a ticketed rooftop patio is also going to be built here at BMO Field with a 1,000-person capacity. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. Still ahead, courting success from tennis to basketball. Superstar Serena Williams takes an ownership stake in the WNBA's Toronto Tempo. The game-changing sports news coming up.
But first, a live look outside on this first Monday evening in March. You may have noticed it has warmed up from the weekend deep freeze, and look at that, we're even getting sunshine at this hour. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. As nice as it is now, Lindsay, there is a special weather statement in effect.
There is, Michelle, and this is warning of, yes, some mild temperatures, but also some significant rain, and that's going to happen tomorrow night and then through the day on Wednesday. We'll talk about that coming up. Also want to mention that it's pretty dry right now on the satellite and radar imagery, but there is a chance of maybe a bit of a wintry mix overnight tonight. We are tapping into southwest winds. That's helping drive up the temperature. It's 2 degrees right now in Niagara Falls, 0 in Hamilton, but it's 1 degree at Pearson Airport. Overnight tonight, we will slip below freezing. Tomorrow, though, is going to be a mild day, 7 degrees. This is the start of a couple days stretch here of some messy weather. We'll talk all about it coming up. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. But for some sunny details, she is one of the biggest names in sports. And now Serena Williams is pivoting from her tennis talent, turning her attention to the basketball court.
Williams has joined our city's new WNBA team, the Toronto Tempo, as a part owner. CTV's Scott Lightfoot has the details.
Even before the first player has been signed, the Toronto Tempo have already landed a superstar athlete.
It's a huge boost. Anytime you have someone that has won more Grand Slams in the Open era than any other tennis player, and you have that champion associated with your team, it's a huge benefit.
She's known for her skills on a different court, but today the WNBA expansion team announced that tennis icon Serena Williams will be joining the team as a part owner.
Serena's been very vocal in her support of women's sports and also her interest in being part of the ownership group of a WNBA team.
The team says Williams will play a role in future jersey designs as well as helping to create unique merchandising collaborations. They also hope her addition will spur fan interest in the organization.
There are so many phenomenally talented, rich, diverse, multi-layered female athletes. I think this decision is so important for this moment, and the next generation sport fan will respond in a very positive way.
Williams, who wasn't doing interviews today, answered questions on the Tempo's social media channels where she said, "Canada has always been a special place for me. I played my first professional tennis game in Quebec City, and I love Toronto, the culture, the food, the people. I won my first Rogers Cup here when I was 19. Now the team is hoping her involvement will help spur a new generation of athletes to success."
She's a winner. She's a champion. She's an incredible businesswoman. She is an incredible mother. All these different things that I think can help contribute to the Tempo in so many different ways.
The Tempo's inaugural season tips off in May 2026. Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
People will be able to travel on the 407 during rush hour for free throughout March. The Spring into Free Rush Hour promotion runs until March 31st and covers travel between 7 and 9:30 a.m. as well as 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Toll and camera charges, along with applicable account fees, will be covered for the length of the promotion. The discounts will appear as a credit on customers' bills. Heavy vehicle transponders are not eligible for the offer.
Meanwhile, there will be an early closure on a portion of the TTC's Line 1 this week. Service on Line 1 between Bloor-Yonge and Osgood stations will end at 11 p.m. each day through to Friday. The early closure is to accommodate maintenance in the area. Shuttle buses will run in place of regular trains.
York Regional Police are searching for 2 suspects in a violent home invasion in Vaughan. Police released this video, which shows the suspects breaking into a home near Thornhill Woods Drive and Fraserwood Road shortly after 4:30 this morning. The victim told police the suspects demanded money and the keys to a Lamborghini. At least one suspect was armed with a knife. The pair weren't able to get the keys to the Lamborghini, but did steal the victim's Porsche SUV. No injuries were reported. We turn to details of a fire that ripped through a Scarborough home early this morning.
One woman inside was injured and taken to hospital. CTV's Janice Goulding has the latest on the investigation into this blaze.
Oh my God, look how bad it is. You know why? You can hear the alarm in Marilyn Prasad's voice as she watches flames shoot through the roof of her neighbor's home as fire guts a residence on Prince Philip Boulevard.
I was coming down the stairs right here, and as I was coming down the stairs, my entire floor here was orange. So I thought the fire was in our house.
As her windows began cracking from the heat.
I just started running around the house trying to find my cat. I couldn't find her. And the police were banging on the door and they said we had to leave.
Toronto Fire says the first calls came in around 4:30 a.m. for a fire in the Kingston and Morningside area.
The first on scene, I believe, were actually Toronto police, and they were able to make a fast rescue of one occupant who was located just inside the front doorway.
A woman whom emergency officials will only say is a senior citizen was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries.
And I think she lost her husband a couple years ago. I know her enough to say hello, but I'm glad she's okay.
It's pretty big fire, and it's clear how quickly it got up and after her. So I'm glad that it sounds like she's okay.
I feel very scary, like this kind of fire is very dangerous.
While officials investigate the cause of the fire, residents reflect on how fortunate they were the fire didn't spread to their homes.
I'm just shocked. I'm shaking still. Thank God it didn't hit my house. We have a few cracked windows and all our siding from the heat has melted. But honestly, the house is in pretty good shape.
The woman is expected to make a full recovery. Janice Goulding, CTV News.
Meantime, another person was taken to hospital with minor injuries following a separate house fire this morning. Emergency crews called to a home on Doris Drive near O'Connor and St. Clair just after 5 a.m. Fire crews are investigating the source of the flames.
And firefighters battled a blaze at a Boston Pizza in Scarborough overnight. It happened near Scarborough Town Centre around 2:30 a.m. Toronto Fire says a heating unit on the roof burst into flames. No injuries have been reported.
Residents of an Etobicoke neighborhood are speaking out about a proposed city shelter.
It's slated to take over a parking lot. As CTV's Natalie Johnson reports, members of the community say they weren't properly consulted.
2 blocks up from the lake on this residential Etobicoke street, stickers slapped across the site tell the tale of community concerns. Right cause, wrong spot, some neighbors say, for an 80-person shelter slated to go up in this parking lot.
Somehow this has to be stopped. This is very, very dangerous for the senior population, for the children.
The surplus green pea lot at 66 3rd Street near Lakeshore and Islington has been designated one of 6 new shelter sites across the city, this one to open in 3 to 5 years.
The frustrations are growing.
But neighbors like Joanna, a mom of 2, argue the community wasn't consulted.
We understand that there is a very serious homelessness crisis, but we want to work with the city to find more sustainable, safer solutions.
They're going to get crack pipes, condoms, and needles. We're afraid they're going to use them in the alleys, the parks.
City staff say they assessed more than 100 sites and determined that this was one of the only ones in Etobicoke suitable for a shelter based on location, availability, and budget.
The city is committed to, being good neighbors, and, we have a good neighbor policy because we want the shelter to be successful.
At a recent information session about the 3rd Street site, tensions mounted as residents confronted the local councillor about the plan. Council has delegated shelter site selection to city staff to depoliticize the process. Community members, though, insist they should have been consulted before the shelter locations were finalized.
As homeowners that, have a beautiful neighborhood to live in, this is just going to decimate it.
We are seeing encampments pop up right across the city. That's really why the conversation is about the successful integration and not about consulting on if the community feels this is a good location.
Community members maintain that is simply not the right approach.
We want to be in a situation where the city puts shelters in areas that make sense.
Hoping to convince the city that this one does not. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
We now know U.S. tariffs will be imposed tomorrow, but there is another issue that has angered Canadians, and it was the focus of a high-profile meeting in the U.K. today. King Charles welcomed the Prime Minister to Sandringham Estate. Officials did not provide details about the private talks at the monarch's royal residence, but yesterday Justin Trudeau indicated discussions would include Donald Trump's repeated suggestions that our country become the 51st state. Although he is Canada's king, Charles and all British monarchs must remain politically neutral.
Donald Trump's tariffs are front and center in the Liberal leadership race.
And as the four hopefuls do what they can to lock in votes, a former Conservative Prime Minister weighed in on the race today. CTV's Rachel Aiello reports.
We can win this. We will win this.
Touting her track record during the last round of Canada-U.S. trade tensions, today, Chrystia Freeland's campaign stop was focused on the threat of a redo.
If this trade war happens, a government led by me will be there.
Her main rival, Mark Carney, has also positioned himself as best placed to stick handle the economic fallout from tariffs.
We've had some experience with crises and building stronger economies.
But today, former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper called into question some of those credentials, blasting Carney, who he tapped to run the Bank of Canada back in 2008, for overstating his role in steering Canada through the global financial crisis. In a letter, Harper accused Carney of taking credit for things he had little or nothing to do with back then, asserting that the hard calls were made by former Finance Minister, the late Jim Flaherty. Responding to these remarks, Carney's campaign accused Harper of engaging in revisionist history to save Pierre Poilievre. And with just days to go, some Liberals say they're running into problems with the party's app verification process. Voting opened last week. Of the 400,000 registered Liberals, the party says 100,000 people have completed the verification process and 78,000 votes have been cast so far. The party says the system is working as it should to ensure a secure vote, and that there's a team working to troubleshoot cases where members' information doesn't match with what's on file, similar to what can happen in a general election. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
In Germany, 2 people were killed when a man drove his car into a crowd. 10 others were hurt in the city of Mannheim. The prosecution believes it was a deliberate act, and the suspect appears to have been psychologically unwell. A 40-year-old from Germany, a nearby state, was detained and in hospital after being injured. Portions of the downtown area were cordoned off, and there was a heavy police presence in the area.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he will have an update tomorrow night on the Ukraine minerals deal that is so crucial to American support for Kyiv. The president is at odds with Volodymyr Zelensky over how to achieve peace and was asked today what must happen so talks between the two leaders can resume.
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us because, as you know, that's right there. That's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given.
On Friday, Zelensky was publicly berated during an Oval Office meeting. Today, he said Ukraine has to engage in substantive diplomacy to end the war quickly and hope to be able to rely on U.S. support. The UK says there are a number of European options available for a peace proposal.
In the Middle East, Arab foreign ministers met in Cairo today for talks on Egypt's plan to rebuild the Gaza Strip. The plan would not remove the population and calls for 3 zones to relocate Palestinians during an initial 6-month period. The zones would be equipped with mobile houses and shelters with humanitarian aid streaming in. It also includes the establishment of an interim Palestinian administration that is not aligned with Hamas or the Palestinian Authority. The Egyptian plan will be presented at an Arab summit tomorrow. It's meant to counter U.S. President Donald Trump's proposal. His plan includes taking over Gaza and transferring people out of the territory. And the truce between Israel and Hamas is in limbo after its first phase ended on the weekend. Yesterday, Israel halted all food, fuel, medicine, and other supplies to Gaza and vowed additional consequences if Hamas does not accept an alternative U.S. ceasefire proposal. The Israelis say it would require Hamas to release half its remaining hostages in exchange for a ceasefire extension and a promise to negotiate a lasting truce. The White House has yet to confirm that, saying it supports whatever action Israel takes.
Pope Francis suffered 2 new breathing crises today as he battles pneumonia in hospital. The Vatican says the episodes were caused by a significant accumulation of mucus in his lungs and bronchial spasms. It was his body's reaction to the original pneumonia infection and not a new infection. The Pope was given a mask again that pumps oxygen. Doctors didn't say if he is still in stable condition, but they referred to the crises in the past tense, suggesting they were over, but the prognosis remains guarded.
Canada has a new representative on the Emerald Isle. Dennis King has been appointed ambassador to Ireland. The PEI premier and PC leader announced his resignation last month. King said the decision was in the best interests of his family, the government, and the residents of Prince Edward Island. The Prime Minister says he is confident King's years of public service will make the strong partnership between the two countries even stronger.
The gold statues have been doled out, the speeches delivered, the tears shed. Coming up, that's a wrap on the 2025 Oscars. We round up the big winners, memorable moments, and Canadians taking home hardware.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, it's Fraud Prevention Month, and the #1 scam in Canada is cryptocurrency fraud. People are losing millions of dollars, and they're getting caught up in the scam by clicking on fake videos on social media. All of my reports just ahead.
Well, overnight tonight, we have a slight chance of seeing maybe a few flurries, ice pellets, or even some patchy freezing rain. But anything we get would be brief and light in nature. Different story this time tomorrow. We will be watching for a Colorado low that could bring us anywhere from 10 to 20 millimeters of rain. It is going to be mild, though. We'll take you through the forecast for the week ahead coming up. And stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
March is Fraud Prevention Month, and there are no doubt many different scams to be aware of.
The Better Business Bureau is out with its top 10 list, and currently in first place, drumroll please, are cryptocurrency investment scams. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. Well, Canadians lost more than $310 million to investment scams last year. Victims see fake videos on social media platforms with promises of easy money. One man lost $500,000.
That night is when I realized it was all a big scam. Like, it was very devastating.
Claude Lazon of Edmonton says it was in 2021 when he clicked on an ad on Facebook. Someone called him and said he could make money investing in cryptocurrencies. He started off with small amounts, but eventually invested his life savings.
We need to make sure you don't get charged for money laundering, so you need to give us $200,000 right away, and that's what ended up happening. I cashed out my RRSPs to do that.
Lazon was scammed out of $500,000.
It pretty well ruined my life.
According to the Better Business Bureau, when it comes to the riskiest scams in Canada, the investment cryptocurrency scam is in first place. 45% of investment scams involve cryptocurrency. The top platforms where victims are introduced to the fraud are Facebook, followed by Instagram, WhatsApp, and TikTok. Criminals are using fake Elon Musk videos that have been altered with artificial intelligence to make it look like he's promoting crypto investments. There are also fake videos of Prime Minister Trudeau that have also been manipulated with AI.
We have developed an investment platform that we believe can help every Canadian safeguard their financial future.
Hope is coming. We're trying hard. Don't give up.
Cybercrime Victim Services is a website with resources to help those who have lost money to crypto fraud. It's working with U.S. officials to try and track down stolen funds and may be able to get a portion of Lazon's money back.
We have the 3-step process, which is a freeze, then you seize, then you return it. A lot of people don't believe that crypto can be returned, but it can. You just have to follow a lot of the steps to do so.
Retrieving stolen crypto funds may be possible, but there are no guarantees. Lazon says he wishes he never clicked on the ad on Facebook.
Unfortunately, I lost all my money. It's very devastating for me and my family.
And employment scams are in the #2 position, and in third place, home improvement scams. If you're having any work done, be careful and don't pay in advance. On your side,
I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, you can feel a change in the air, a bit more sunlight, not nearly as cold as it was on the weekend. Things are changing.
It really, and we'll be springing forward. And, you know, what is it, just over a week? It's amazing, especially at 6 o'clock, to have the daylight and then to have the mild temperatures after what was an absolutely frigid weekend to start the month of March.
It really was cold. And interestingly enough, we welcomed meteorological spring on Saturday. It did not feel like it then. But it is going to feel a little more like spring over the next couple of days. For one, we are in for a rainstorm as opposed to snow this week. So yes, it is still active weather, but it's a Colorado low. It could be worse, dare I say, at this time of year. But instead, we've got some mild temperatures that are starting to build. It's already quite warm today in parts of the U.S. Midwest, cities like Chicago, and that warmth is headed our way. It is 2 degrees right now in Windsor. That's going to be one of the cooler days, dare I say, compared to the next few here. Overnight tonight, we're dropping just slightly below the freezing mark. That could result in a little bit of mixed precipitation, maybe some ice pellets or some patchy freezing rain early on. And then the majority of tomorrow is expected to be dry with a couple of exceptions. Look at our forecast daytime high. 7 degrees in Toronto, 8 in Niagara Falls, 7 for you in Hamilton as well. School day forecast, yeah, you might consider a rain jacket because it's not going to be quite as cold as, well, the last little while when we've needed the winter jacket for sure. Environment Canada this afternoon issuing this special weather statement. It's warning us of some mild temperatures, but also some very significant amounts of rain beginning Tuesday night and following us through the day on Wednesday, all thanks to a Colorado low, which is just developing right now. And yes, with this, we can expect some steady rainfall, especially as we make our way into Wednesday morning. There's overnight tonight and that slight chance of mixing. Tomorrow, if we get precipitation, the temperature should be mild enough for that to be rain, scattered in nature. And then here comes the steadier rain overnight and into Wednesday morning. Pause that there around 6:30 in the morning just to show you that potential for some heavier bands. As the day goes on and off showers, maybe even a thunderstorm embedded within this system, and conditions are going to start to improve as we make our way into Wednesday night and then certainly into Thursday. But at this point, 10 to 20 millimeters of rain not out of the question. In fact, some areas could see even more than that. Here is the 7-day forecast. So highs of 7 degrees for both Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to tap into some cooler air once again. Daytime high of 2. Overnight low back below freezing. So we might see a little bit of mixed precipitation once again. Friday and Saturday bring us lots of sun. It looks like we're going to be a little bit chilly once again as we head into the weekend, but overall conditions are calmer. Just watch for those overnight lows, which could be chilly at times. And this setup might also bring us the risk of a few ice jams in some areas too, with the melting and then the refreezing, especially when it comes to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. That's your look at the weather for now. I'll send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Lindsay. Also tonight, combining medicine and strength training to protect the elderly. The formula for a healthy senior lifestyle coming up. Preventing falls is a big part of keeping elderly loved ones healthy and able to enjoy life.
And one Toronto physician is working to ensure support programs are more inclusive and families get the help they need. CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more.
Alex Norris Rusman just happened to be with his grandmother when she suffered her first fall 12 years ago.
So I, kind of held her next to on my arm, and that's when she stumbled.
They later found she had severe internal bleeding, but it was not caused by the fall. In fact, it may have contributed to the fall. She had a duodenal ulcer requiring transfusions and surgery, and her recovery included not just strength training and a review of her medications.
It involved having her cataracts addressed and surgically repaired. It involved getting her hearing aid.
And while Dr. Mireille Norris's expertise as a geriatrician meant she knew what resources her mom, also named Mireille, would need, she says many others might not reach out for help.
Half of the Black population in Canada is in Ontario. And, I'm from Caribbean origin. More recently, there's been more people coming from Africa. Families are more disjointed, And so an older person who is Black in Canada would be more likely to be isolated as opposed to Black in Haiti.
In a recent address to the Black Physicians Association of Ontario, she stressed the importance of informing families about rehab and preventative programs, especially for the elderly. Risk assessments and rehab are even available online now.
We enrolled her in a program at the YMCA, and I go with her twice a week, sometimes more.
Yoga?
And does the yoga with my brother, who happens to be a yoga teacher.
Qigong?
We do Qigong.
Dr. Norris says taking a team approach with all members of the family not just helps cover all the rehab activities, but also adds voices to advocate on a senior's behalf and make sure the grandkids get involved. They're strong and energetic and more.
The grandchildren are very adept with technology. So it's my son actually who introduced my mother to the use of the iPhone, to the use of the iPad.
Mireille Sr. is now 87, strong enough to dance in the hallways, and her family knows more about keeping her safe. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
It is the biggest night in Hollywood.
The 97th Academy Awards were handed out last night, and CTV's Andrea Case joins us now in studio, of course, to talk about the big moments, some of the snubs, the surprises. Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about. Michelle and Nathan, good evening. Yes. Okay, 5 o'clock, I promised I'd have my makeup on, and voila, thank you, Spring, it's done. Now, you know me, I enjoy the Academy Awards, and I like reporting on them even more. The Oscars were in the books for another year, and even after a long award season, he's still has the ability to surprise us.
Honora.
A Canadian was front and center on Oscar's biggest night. Samantha Kwan co-produced the Best Picture winner, Honora. The Vancouver native had these words of encouragement for would-be filmmakers.
To all of the dreamers and the young filmmakers out there, tell the stories you want to tell. Tell the stories that move you. I promise you, you will never regret it.
The independent film was shot for $6 million and won 5 of the 6 nominations it received. Sharing Best Picture with Kwan was Alex Coco and Sean Baker, who also won Best Director, Editor, and Original Screenplay.
I want to thank the sex worker community. They have shared their stories. They have shared their life experience with me over the years. My deepest respect. Thank you. I share this with you.
Just you and I.
Kicking off the Oscars, a duet by Wicked co-stars Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. It brought the audience at the Dolby Theatre to their feet. Hosted for the first time by Conan O'Brien, he promised he would not waste time, but he did. Best Supporting Actor Kieran Culkin won just about every award leading up to the Oscars, but the real prize may be 2 more offspring. His wife jokingly promised if he ever won an Oscar.
Let's get cracking on those kids. What do you say?
In the Best Supporting Actress category, Zoe Saldana.
I am the first American of Dominican origin to accept an Academy Award, and I know I will not be the last.
Best Actor went to the gum-chewing Adrian Brody, who clocked the longest-running Oscar speech in history at 5 minutes and 40 seconds.
I'm wrapping up. I will wrap up. Please turn the music off. I've done this before. Thank you.
If you were in an Academy Award pool, you probably thought Demi Moore winning Best Actress was a sure bet, but you were wrong. Best Actress went to star Mikey Madison, who portrayed a sex worker in Honora, and she thanked that community, to which she says she will continue to be an ally.
I grew up in Los Angeles, but Hollywood always felt so far away from me. So to be here, standing in this room today is really incredible. This is a dream come true. I'm probably going to wake up tomorrow.
Nathan asked, why couldn't they give it to Demi Moore? Well, 10,000 people voted, and they did not vote for her. Other Canadians who took home an Academy Award, visual effects supervisors Stephen James and Rhys Salcombe, were part of the team which accepted the award for their work on Dune 2. Reporting for CTV News, I'm Andrea Case. The award season is officially over.
Just like that. Thanks, Andrea.
Good night.
After the break, balancing saving for retirement with the high cost of living. How Canadians are feeling about RRSP contributions on deadline day. That's coming up.
We purchased over $1 billion of alcohol, 3,600 products, 35 states. It's going to hit them.
Updating our top stories, Ontario's premier is vowing to fight back after U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed this afternoon 25% tariffs will take effect tomorrow. There will also be 10% duties on Canadian energy.
This announcement is an important step in our journey and ensures the stadium will not only be ready for 2026, but will serve our city for years to come.
An update on the $23 million renovation at BMO Field as Toronto prepares to host 6 FIFA World Cup matches next year. There will be 1,700 temporary seats installed by next March, 4 new permanent video boards, and the use of AI at concession stands for faster checkout.
Anytime you have someone that has won more Grand Slams in the open era than any other tennis player, and you have that champion associated with your team, it's a huge, huge benefit.
Serena Williams has joined the ownership group of Toronto Tempo. She will also play an active role in future jersey designs. Canada's first WNBA franchise begins play next season.
And remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video breaking news, let us know.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar ended the day down, coming in at 68.91 cents U.S. Western Canadian Select Oil dropped 70 cents to close at $56.31 a barrel. And the TSX Composite Index sank nearly 392 points to end the day at 25,001.57.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Today was the deadline to make a contribution to your RRSP for the 2024 tax year. A recent survey by Edward Jones found 39% of Canadians plan to put money into a registered retirement savings plan this year. That's down 10% compared to last year. The barriers most people reported when trying to save for retirement are insufficient income and the high cost of living, as well as debt repayment.
To sports, the Toronto Maple Leafs are back home tonight, but just for one game as they look for their 6th straight win.
Nylander winds it and shoots, scores! William Nylander with a lightning strike, overtime winner!
William Nylander scored 60 seconds into OT as the Leafs beat Pittsburgh 6-5 yesterday. This evening, Toronto hosts the San Jose Sharks. The Leafs lead the Atlantic Division and are in 5th place overall. After tonight, they begin a 3-game Western swing against U.S. teams.
Savvy play by the rookie Shed. Quickly off the window. Puts the foul.
And on the hard court, the Raptors are looking to avoid a 4th straight defeat, taking on the Magic in Orlando last night. Emmanuel quickly led the way for the Raptors with 24 points. They jumped out to an early lead in the first quarter and went on to win it 104-102. The two teams meet again on Tuesday.
It's a bird, it's a plane, no wait! Superheroes? Caped Crusaders converge at Holland Bloorview as the Capes for Kids campaign reaches new heights.
Tonight, the accelerated angst from Donald Trump's punishing tariffs.
So it's scary as an auto worker. It's part of the emotional roller coaster of being an auto worker.
How Canada's automotive capital is coping and the struggle to navigate the uncertainty. Later on CTV National News.
Finally tonight, some Caped Crusaders taking on a heart-pounding challenge high above Toronto.
Real-life superheroes rappelling Holland Bloorview Hospital, raising money and spirits for kids receiving medical care. CTV's Allison Hurst has the story.
The kids filed in one by one, anticipation mounting.
We're looking for something cool that's going to happen.
Then out the windows, superheroes appeared, hanging from Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital.
I've never seen anything like that.
Wearing capes themselves, they watched in awe, even moving closer to give a wave and a high five.
I thought it was pretty good myself.
This is part of Capes for Kids, a week-long fundraiser for the hospital that offers financial support for families, pays for research, and runs programs such as robotics and arts and music.
This is our 9th year of Capes for Kids at Holland Bloorview, and we've already raised over $6.5
$5 million. And this year we hope to add at least another $1 million to that total.
The event was assisted by the Hanging Heroes, who, of course, also have a day job.
This is actually their job in a certain way to inspect buildings and do construction work while rappelling.
The swinging and flipping on the rope, though, an added touch of flair, giving the kids like Sophia Cacharo a break.
It feels really good because I can just let all my stress of physios and stuff out, and I can just have fun.
It reminded Elias Kaya of his favorite superhero, Spider-Man.
He's climbing walls.
He climbs walls.
And his Spider-Man suit.
And his Spider-Man suit.
And his Spider-Man webs.
While Eddie McDonald's favorite superhero is the Hulk, he enjoyed the act.
They were crashing into each other and all that stuff, and I thought it was pretty funny.
The fundraiser runs until Friday. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Oh, I love their reactions. And you couldn't have picked a better day, at least in March, to do that. It was really pleasant today.
And the next couple of days are going to be a little more active. We do have this special weather statement that's in place for the GTA. This is warning of some heavy rainfall, especially Tuesday night and into Wednesday. 10 to 20 millimeters expected at this point, so just a heads up on that. Here's a look at the current satellite and radar. All is pretty calm and quiet, but here comes this storm. It's a Colorado low, and it is going to be a soaker. There's one more look at the 7-day forecast. Cooler air as we make our way into the day Thursday and Friday as well. Nathan and Michelle.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Satchadina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Almond with your next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.